Okay, I want to share a couple of interesting recent developments here. So, um, one of the MAME developers, not one of the scumbag ones, actually is working on emulating wait states in MAME. And this is enormous, gargantuan, huge. It's actually one of the most significant things left that MAME can do, at least for the simpler 2D arcade platforms and consoles. So I've made videos about it before, but essentially what this allows them to do is emulate things like bus contention and all that kind of stuff. So whereas up until now CPUs in MAME have basically run at an ideal speed, where just in isolation, regardless of whatever else they're connected to, they just run as fast as they possibly can. And that's why games like Street Fighter 2 Turbo and other stuff has problems. But um, it's possible, not certain yet, but it's possible that if this pans out, hundreds of undocumented miscellaneous bugs and strange behavior in games could just all be fixed, overnight. And so it looks like this is currently part of a branch that they're working on for a new 68K, uh, set of enhancements, for that core. And I mean, really, most of the games that are good in MAME pretty much use 68K. So this will cover a large chunk of things. But yeah, basically, the CPS game's not running at the right speed. Some of the raster effects being messed up in the Neo Geo driver in a couple of games. All of these things could just magically get fixed, by this change. So it hasn't been actually made part of mainline yet. There's still, I think it's still kind of experimental, and they're still working on it in a separate branch. But this is one of the things that I've bitched about for a long time, and so it's really nice to see this. And this is kind of, I mean, this is the stuff that you want to see in MAME, as opposed to, oh, we emulated a, toaster. Yeah, who cares? So yeah, I'm really anxious to see how this pans out. That's really exciting, and is actually one of the most interesting things I've seen, on the main front in years actually. So here's hoping. Um, Everybody also probably already knows about the new Jaguar emulator that came out, and it is good. The only thing I'll say about it is that I don't like the fact that it doesn't have an input binding that just exits directly to the desktop. I mean, I realize that with front ends, you can basically just say, I want to kill the task and go straight back to my front end. But to me, it's like, why not just build that into the front end? But, obviously the author spent a lot of time on the UI for that thing, and so they want to shove it in your fucking face. In any case, those are some interesting developments there. And then the other thing that is Samurai Showdown and Final Fight related. So, um, an enhancement that I made for Samurai Showdown, to the program, is that basically I wanted to do so in Samurai Showdown 2. You can basically cancel out projectiles, like tornadoes and stuff like that, by doing certain special moves. But just to kind of enhance the game, just kind of like add a nice little touch to it. What I wanted to do is I wanted to modify the palette of your character's weapon when they do that, to indicate, just to give a little extra, visual feedback that that's what happened. So like, for example, if you're playing as Wanfu or something, and you do a move to cancel out a tornado that's projected at you. Your rock that you're holding, your rock weapon, can basically like light up yellow or something or orange, to indicate that it like absorbed that projectile. But rolling this back into Final Fight, gives us some kind of neat side effects. And so basically, what this concept, in the engine really is just the concept of basically being able to set palette-based animations that are independent from the actual animation of the grabbed object. And so, just to give you an example of this, on the industrial stage, you'll see how like if you're holding someone, see like and you hold them over a flame or something like that, their palette will actually change and they'll get lit up. So and it's also kind of just like another alternative, like another way you can choose to damage enemies. I mean, basically, you can essentially cook marshmallows, with these scumbags, and it's just a nice additional interaction of the objects. And I'm really into that stuff. That's a real gaming fetish of mine, is that I really love seeing interesting interactions, between different systems in games, and I really love seeing things where there are basically no exceptions. Everything in the game world basically gets treated the same way. So so all that basically it was fairly trivial to do just because of all of the palette pixel shader stuff, and there are interesting side effects even beyond just what I've shown here. So here we've seen a case of you're basically holding characters over flames and roasting them, but it extends beyond that. So like other examples of this behavior is like, let's see if I can do it here. We got some random. Okay, that's good. So say there's a Molotov flame on the ground, and you happen to be holding a weapon. So you can see now see how it actually lights up the pipe. So basically, like you just have a much richer interaction of objects in the game, and that really does kind of completely unify the behavior of grabbed stuff, with everything else, because that was already an existing behavior in the game, where if there was a Molotov flame or some other flame or something on the ground, and you did a knockback move on like a knife or a pipe or sword or whatever, as it was flying through the flame, it would actually light up. And so it just makes sense, right? It's like it's the same logic. If I swing at a flame, it should make the the thing I'm swinging light up. Yeah. So there are kind of there's kind of like a continual stream of enhancements made for Samurai Shodown 2 that I'm working back into Final Fight, because I really I don't want Final Fight to fall behind and not have all the features that Samurai Shodown 2 has. So I like it. And it's also just like a nice little visual touch too. Like it's just satisfying when you're playing the game and you just see stuff like that. It's like, oh yeah, that's cool, man. Like I swung my pipe. I happened to be swinging it over where flames were, and so it lit up the pipe. It's just kind of neat. So in any case, that's awesome stuff with MAME. I hope that pans out. I really do, because basically if that happens, we don't need to do any more overclocking or underclocking hacks to get the games to run at the right speed. I have no doubt that there are, just like I said, hundreds of just undocumented random bugs in MAME and inaccurate behavior due to the lack of wait states. Because, like I said, most arcade games were just rush pieces of shit where they were just like, yeah, who gives a shit? All it has to do is work on this one piece of hardware. Who cares? If it works, it works. Ship it. And so there's all kinds of behavior in the games that are dependent on clock speed, dependent on the specific timing of the hardware as it was. They were not like fancy, well engineered software for the most part. So yeah, I'll probably be putting up another build of Final Fight soon, if you want to fiddle around with that stuff, because also in that last playthrough video I did make a lot of notes about little problems that I saw, and so I already have kind of piled up a decent chunk of little fixes for that one too.